Here we are in the blueprint editor. Now, if you've just started on this particular project and not followed any of the other tutorials, you'll need to just have a look at the one for setting up of the folder structure for you as a provider of assets. Okay, I won't go through all that, but in your asset folder, your product folder, which mine is called add-on 01, you will have a list of preset folders, and that's why you get these little icons there. You'll have one marked rail vehicles in there. We've got some subfolders that you create. I've got one for bogies, for couplings, and then for different types of vehicles: diesel, electric, freight and steam. Now we're going into the electric one, and you want to make a folder for your vehicle, and here it's a class 307 EMU. Now that is where you store. You don't have to do it that way, but you know, you can store your blend file in there. Okay, it won't be exported, and then within that folder you've got those subfolders of audio, bogies, cab view, i.e. the cab to desk from when you're sitting inside the cab, the engine, that's the vehicle itself, and the simulation folder, that's the engine simulation, which is all about the physics of how the engine works. So they're the subfolders there, and we saved out, if you follow the other ones, I saved the IGS out into the engine folder here. There's class 307 DTS IGS, and also the cab IGS is there in the cab view. So that's where we are, that's where we start from. Now we need the blueprints. So I'm going to start with the main blueprint, and then we might have to add some. We're not going to do a lot. We just want to have a look at it in Train Sim. We don't even want to drive it at this stage, so let's just go here, go add new item, and we want the main engine blueprint. So let's come down here, engine blueprint. Let's call this class 307 DTS EMU. Okay, right, okay, that I should, let me put that the other way round, because it's actually EMU DTS. That's it, let's do it that way round, that's more sensible. There we go. Okay, so there is the blueprint. Right, name, let's go TNM, and let's call it class 307 EMU. In fact, I probably want to put class 307 DTS EMU like that. No, EMU DTS. I've done it again, haven't I? EMU, and then what I'll do, I'll put brackets there, I think, just to show that this is the DTS, the driving trailer second. Okay, then now I want this. You could leave the TNM off. In fact, you should leave the TNM off. That is for me to identify in the list. So the list is from this display name, so that's where you've got to have that, or not, I've got to have that, so that I can identify my assets by having the TNM, because it'll all come under TNM on the list. For this one you probably don't need the TNM, you can just have the class 307. That's just an internal file name. Okay, so let's come down then. Rail vehicle component number list, we're not using that. We've got no coupling at the moment, so you know, it's going to be a knuckle type coupling. We haven't made that yet, so we don't need that. Therefore we don't need to fill out any of this matrix of where the coupling meshes together. Mass I don't know. I'll alter this when I see the specs. I can't remember now. I've seen them, but I'm not quite sure how weighty this trailer is. Oh, by the way, you might know on certain tutorials, birds. I'm not living in an aviary. It's the clock in the background. It gives off bird chimes every hour. So, okay, front pivot X, back pivot X, collision centre. Now, you can get away without these collision centres for now. But the front pivot X, if we go, let me go here. Now, what I generally do, I create a, let me go side on. I create an empty where these are. So, for instance, there's my front pivot. Which in a sense is not quite there, but it's the buffer. Okay, so that tells me that's at 10.155. Okay, so if I go back now, the front pivot X is 10.155, and you will say, hang on, isn't that in the Y direction? And isn't the Y and the Z direction transposed? Yes, they are, and yes, it is. It's obviously this particular XML has a mistake there, because this is in fact the Z direction, and this is the Y direction, which is the Z direction in Blender. So the front pivot Y is actually standard here, but I'll take this as 1.14, 1.14, okay, but it is standard, and in the UK the height of the buffers is generally, I think, about 41 inches, which is going to be over a metre. So I don't know what that is in inches, but that's what it should equate to, about 41 inches. But of course, if your model's wrong, so be it. There's not a lot you can do. Well, no, actually, I say that, yes, you should do it, because you must make it the buffers at that height, because otherwise they won't meet up with any other rolling stock that someone else might produce, because they'll be doing it at that standard height. But there is obviously going to be a movement of buffers anyway when a thing is fully loaded, so they don't always meet dead on in that respect. So now this is just minus, then minus 10.155. that's the back end. Let me get rid of that naught. There we go. And again, this is the same. This isn't minus, because this is a Y direction, 1.14. Okay, so that is it. Now let me take one of those ones off. There we go. Now collision center, height and all that. Again, if you've not gone through some of the other tutorials, such as the rolling stock, the wagon, we produce a wagon. This is a collision box, and it's a sort of imaginary box around your vehicle that determines collision, what happens when two vehicles come together. And that said, you calculate that from formula laid out. Now you can either do it in your head if you're brilliant. You can go to somewhere like Chris Trains here, who has an online calculator, so you feed in the actual pivot points and things like that, the height of the buffers, and it will calculate it for you. Or you can easily do it, if you're okay with a spreadsheet, you can easily do it via a spreadsheet with formula, just to calculate those figures, which are given in the development's guide. It tells you how to come up with the collision center. So that's what you can do. We don't need it now. We're not gonna add more vehicles. So let's go back. You can leave that blank. It will still work without that collision box. Right, bogey. So that means we need a couple of bogies. We've got 2 bogies for our vehicle, so we need to create those bogies. So let's go to the bogey folder and let's add new item, blueprint, and there it is, bogey blueprint. Okay, and it's Mark 1 bogey 01. Okay, so this is the first bogey. They're going to be exactly the same except the distance. One's going to be positive, one's going to be negative. Okay, wheel radius. Then again we go back here and we select that is the diameter. Remember, this is the diameter, 972, so it's 486. It's half of that figure. Okay, so if I get back before I forget it, it's 0.486. there we go. So that's the wheel radius. Wheel gauge, it's standard, it's 1.435 for the UK, of which this is a UK train, so you'd expect it to be of that gauge. Right, geometry now. This is the name of the geometry for the bogey. So there's the bogey, and this is the apparent. So there we go, that's apparent, and it's B01. Now be very, very careful with this. You might have noticed it wasn't called B01 when I was building it. I had a LOD there, but I stripped all these down because I couldn't get it to appear. I heard the clanking of it appearing on the rails, but it was invisible. And what it was I'd made a mistake originally in this name, and that's what caused the problem. And when I went to rectify it, I hadn't altered the name back to what it should have been, and so I spent ages trying to find out. So now I've changed it. I changed it in the meantime, so now I've gone back to this name. So I'm hoping this will work, because this will be the first time I try it with this name. I had to use the old name, and that's what the problem was, but I wasn't using the old name, even though initially with the old name it didn't work. So that's how it goes sometimes with Train Sim. So that said, then this is B01. Okay, so add the 2 axles now. Radius is still 486. Okay, horizontal offset, which is 51 inches. That's half of the wheelbase, which was 8'6", and again I actually put in an empty there to show where the front of the wheelbase was, and it's saying 1.2954. Okay, so 1.2954. So 1.2954. Okay, so that's the offset. So the front axle will be positive, the back axle will be negative. So okay, this was B01, bogey 01, WH01. There we go. And the second axle, you can what you can do with these things is just copy and paste like that. Easiest way when you're repeating things is just to do that. So all we have to do here is we make this minus. There we go, and this is wheel 2 of bogey 1. So that's it. Just check the values. Yep, they all look okay. I'm going to go back in and just check that those the bogies, the wheel sets themselves are that. There we go, B02. In fact, this is one B01, WH01 and WH02. So yes, that is right then. B01, WH02. Let me make sure we've not got capitals anywhere. No, it's all lowercase. So there we go. That's it then. Save that. Okay, close it, and then just go copy and paste it, and just change this now to bogey 2. Okay, and now bring that up, and again all you've got to do is change these figures. That should be a 2, bogey 2, and the axles, just open those up, and this is bogey 02, bogey 02. There we go, and save that. There we go, there are our 2 bogeys. So now we can reference these. Now there we go, it says bogey pivot X, pivot Y, same thing again. This is 7.2. I remember that from when we made it, and pivot Y is 0, so the bogey is sitting at the 0 point. We again adjusted it for that purpose, and so same here, 7.2, only this would be minus. Okay, so again it's that same mistake here. This should be Z, it should be bogey pivot Z. Alright, bogey blueprint again. Oh, wrong one. It's T&M for me. There we go. Only let's not do a typo and add on 01. Make sure you're getting these right, because you know it can completely throw you if you just slightly get that wrong. Okay, so let's copy that, paste that. There we go, and again copy and paste. Oops, hang on, it's not letting me paste. Copy. Oh, wrong one. That's why. There we go. Paste. Okay, and obviously it don't paste the path there. We have to put the new path in, bogey 2. So bogey 1, bogey 2. So that is it. There's not much we need, to be honest, at this stage. Now, head out camera, we don't need to produce that. We're not going to drive it on this go. We're not going to drive it, so we won't put the cameras in yet. Render component, yes, we will need that. That's the IGS. So copy the IGS, the vehicle IGS, and paste it. Paste the collision geometry, which is going to be the same thing. There we go. And now none of this engine sim file. Okay, there we go. So we need an engine sim file. Now the best way to do this, let me see if I'm let me go back one and see if I've got one open. Yeah, I might have one open here. Yeah, so there we go. The thing to do here with that sim file is you want to go and get a similar sim file. Okay, now you could do it via going into Railworks, into Assets, go to the Kuji folder, which is long gone, hasn't it? The Kuji, I think they were the original makers, and you'd go into Rail Simulator, you go into Vehicles, there we go, Electric, there, and Default, and there we go. There's a simulator. Now you'll see it's got these lookup tables. These are lookup tables. These DCSV, which are CSV files with a D in front of them. So you can just take that D off, copy and paste them, take the D off, and the Blueprint editor will recognize them as CSV files. What you'll see here is just this binary file, and you can use I've got one here, Sirs Master, to convert your binary file to XML, and that XML file you'll be able to read the values of. You can actually read the values of the binary file in something like Railworks? What's it called now? It's not going to come up without me clicking it. Oh, I hate that. RW Tools, that's the one. You should hover. You should get a... No, none of them. Oh, they... I'm forgetting I'm not on a Mac. Anyway, back to this. You convert that. Now, Blueprint Editor won't read that XML. I can tell you that now. It won't read the XML. The only way you can do it, let me see if I've got... yeah, the only way to do it is to load the XML into something like this, which is again 7 something, isn't it? I was going to say 7-Up, but that's a drink. But it's 7 something, 7-Zip or something. I'll put it in the credit type things. Anyway, it will read it. It will read it. There we go. Now it will not read all this. The Blueprint Editor will not read all this. D type, C delta string, da 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 da. It won't read it. It won't understand it. So as long as it's not too long, you're better off just looking at it and taking these figures into your own XML file. You could try and strip these off to do it. If it's going to be a really long file, you could strip these off and put in the Blueprint Editor type formatting. But it's easier just to copy the figures. Copy the figures. There are of course ways of just using the binary file straight in to your assets. You know, you could reference the file here, but actually place that binary file into your folder once you've exported this. Basically your blueprint, main blueprint. But anyway, we'll come to that. The thing to do is go through the hard work, copy it, convert it, and then you've got a blueprint in the proper standard that you could use and copy and paste. I've got one here for an EMU that I can just copy over and paste into this, but you don't need it for now. For now, all you need is a blueprint. So you just want a engine sim blueprint. There we go. And let's just call this 307 engine sim. Okay, I suppose I ought to put class sorting on in front of that. There we go. Okay, that's it. You don't need to do anything, to be honest. Normally you would put a subsystem in there, which in our case is going to be electric. But you don't even need that, to be honest, as long as you've got again one of these. And I tell you, if you haven't got it, again, that will create a problem. And this is what TrainSim does on you. It makes things invisible, and you know they're not there because you can hear the clanking and all that, but you won't see it. And this is one. If you don't have an engine sim there, it won't operate properly. Okay, so close that down. Same thing is if something references a Lua file, then it's easy to create a Lua script, a blank Lua script. Okay, and even if it's got nothing in there, if it needs to reference a Lua script, just create a blank one. It's the easiest way. But anyway, that's all we want, a blank file. There, let's just go TNM add on 01, and there's the blueprint. So you won't be able to drive this because it won't have. Actually, it will have some settings in there. So I've never tried to drive it blank like that. If you put a subsystem in, it won't drive without the subsystem. But I've just copied this path. But it might work straight out the can, so to speak, or out the tin. I don't know. Certainly comes in with settings, so it might well work. If you select an electric subsystem for it. but we don't want to actually drive it, so that doesn't matter. Now you don't need, again, this is for the cab interface. You don't need it because we're not gonna drive it. The one thing here we've done in other ones, control values, they're for your throttle and your brake and things like that. You can copy and paste those from another file as well, and that's another one to have a generic file, say for a steam engine or something. Have it and then just copy and paste the values over. And that's the best way to do it, the easiest way to do it. Have those set things, the same as the bogies. Have a bogey folder, a main bogey folder, not within the actual vehicle itself, but a bogey folder with all different types of bogies in. So I've got a BR4 bogey there, I've got Flex bogey, Grizzly bogey, and the Mark 1 bogey, and any bogies you know, that you can think of, you know, make one and keep it there for use in any vehicle that you're gonna use. So back to this, that is it. We don't need any more. Again, where you've got here script component, that's a Lua file. Again, it will work without a Lua file, but so, like I said, then if you need a blank Lua, you'll soon know, because you'll get a blank vehicle. But if you do need a Lua, just create a blank Lua, and whatever it is should work. Okay, so that appears to be correct. Okay, appears to be correct. We don't have to do anything there. Make sure the these are correct. Yeah, bogey. Again, so change that. Yeah, electric. There's the render file, and that's about it. The sim file should be okay. Now I'm going to delete that. Now I'm going to export this. So let's export, and let's just see if it gives an error. No, I can see by all that text going up on the screen behind me. You won't be able to see it, but I can make myself disappear and see it. But I can tell that all of that means that it has worked. It has exported. Okay, so what that means is we should be able to go into Train Sim, and we should be able to at least select the vehicle, which will be called TNM Class 307 EMU DTS. So I shall see you in a mo in Train Sim. Here we are now in Train Sim in a scenario. Let me just maneuver out the way of the tablets of stone, and let's have a look at our vehicles. And there we have the vehicle. It's this one here, 307 EMU DTS. So let me click on it, and lo and behold, there is our vehicle. So there we go. And let's just have a look. Well, first off, let's check all heights, because that's one of the main things I want to check. Let's move it up to a platform, and let's just make sure that the height is about right. Well, it's difficult to say, I must admit, because this has got step boards which are sort of just about the height of the underframe, so that is probably the right height. It's probably going to be higher than the platform. A lot now I think sit much lower, but I think that's probably going to be the right height. Anyway, with the step boards, I'm sure it will. Now let's have a look at this. Okay, now you'll notice that where are our axle boxes? There they are. They're there somewhere. Okay, but we can't see them all that well. Now that is because this particular scenario is set about 6 o'clock in the evening. I can't remember if it's autumn or summer. Let me have a look up. There we go. It's a cloudless sky, and the fact is that we're not seeing any proper shadows on this vehicle at all. It looks quite bland. Okay, and that is a case for pre-rendering. Pre-render the shadows in so that you can actually see it under this sort of lighting condition. So that's the thing. Pre-render, and again, because you've got we never put them on, but you've got bolts there and all that. You want to again have ambient occlusion so that you can get into those gaps and see them properly as you would in the real world. Now another thing I can see there, look, you can see straight through that door, and if we go in there, where is the door? It's not there. Okay, the door is just not there. Now that is going to be a problem with the face. It's the normal is not the right way round, so that means that the doors definitely will need the normals flipped or at least outside, so you need to check that. And 2.9 we can tell, because if it's outside it should be blue. So that's all we need to do. If we go the other side of the door, it's fine because the normal is the right way, but on the inside it's not. So we need to just redo the normals, but it looks to be okay. It's sitting right, and as I say, the height there I think will be okay. When we put the step board on it, I think that will come out level with the platform, although again the platform height I'm not sure is necessarily standard UK height. Someone might say yes it is, yes it is. I don't know. Standard UK height originally was 3 foot. I don't think these are 3 foot. I think these are higher than 3 foot or lower than 3 foot. But they're not the height. Certainly ones I've seen have not been the old standard height of a platform. But even in the UK, platforms are now moving in the height, so there's no hard and fast thing there. So that's okay. So it's gone in, it works, and we can't drive it at the moment. If I try to do anything with that, it's going to crash the program, I know. So that's it. It works, it's right height, it sits right. Oh, and the other thing I didn't check, of course, just make sure, yeah, the wheels are sitting nicely on the rails there. They are sitting absolutely perfectly on the rail, so that is fine. So we're on the right lines now to finish it off. So that's what we'll do. Let's go and create a bit more detail. We'll sort those doors out, and probably that's our first priority, is to get those doors sorted. And while we're doing that, we might as well perhaps actually create individual doors that we can open. So that's what we'll do next time. So I will see you then.